How's it going, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to my channel, The Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and everything relating to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which looks like is going to be a lot bigger come Marvel's Phase 4. With all of the talks, rumors, and reports that Spider-Man 3 is going to be a multiverse movie and that we're going to get different versions of Spider-Man, we now have another interesting fact about Spider-Man and all of the other different iterations of Spider-Man that makes this multiverse even more interesting. And this is coming from an actual MCU director as well. So we'll break it down, but first, big congratulations to YouTube user Aaron Campout for being the winner of the Zombie Hulk Funko Pop, and for this week we're going to be giving away a Black Widow Funko Pop from the Avengers game. And a big thank you to HeroesHideout.com for providing these Funkos. If you need some gift ideas for the holidays, they have tons of Marvel merchandise. Now, for those of you who have Twitter, you may have saw this recently, but Duncan Jones tweeted out this: tangential connections through portals is covered under the Doctor Strange subsection. Then he asked Scott Derrickson, can I have a ruling? Scott Derrickson, of course, directed the first Doctor Strange film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he was supposed to direct the second one, but things didn't work out there because from what I believe they called differences. So now we have Sam Raimi, who directed the original Spider-Man trilogy, which says something of itself about the next Doctor Strange film, but Scott Derrickson did reply, and this was his response. All Spider-Man iterations are de facto MCU, meaning are in fact in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this is a very interesting statement, especially when you consider the fact that it's coming from Scott Derrickson, who directed the first Doctor Strange film. And since he was going to direct the second Doctor Strange film, he would definitely know if these different iterations of Spider-Man were in fact going to come into our main Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because after Spider-Man 3 comes Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, so he would have been informed and filled in on whatever is supposed to happen in Spider-Man 3. So this seems like it could mean two different things. And the first one could be that he is simply just stating that all of the other Spider-Man films that have been around are part of the MCU because Doctor Strange does have the ability to travel through the multiverse. He can open up a portal and go straight into the Sam Raimi Spider-Man universe, into the Amazing Spider-Man universe. Heck, he could even go into the Japanese Spider-Man universe. And the fact that Doctor Strange has this power, and America Chavez as well, who was supposed to be coming in Doctor Strange 2, the fact that they have these powers could simply make all of the Spider-Man part of the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is the multiverse where everything connects. And this is absolutely a possibility of how we could see these different iterations of the Spider-Man. We know Doctor Strange is going to be in Spider-Man 3. He could perhaps open portals and we could see the cameos from Tobey Maguire, from Andrew Garfield, as they're looking into other worlds, other dimensions, other realities. But that would mean that these different iterations of Spider-Man wouldn't really have a very prominent role. But the second option is that Scott Derrickson, who was supposed to direct Doctor Strange 2, knows what's going to happen in Spider-Man 3, knows that a bunch of other different Spider-Man are about to end up in the film, so because he knows this, he's simply stating that yes, all of these other different iterations of Spider-Man are a part of the MCU, because he knows that they're about to head into the MCU. Now there is a third, and I'll call it a bonus option, that I don't really believe, and I'll have to do a little bit more research and theorize on this, but he could be meaning that the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films and the Amazing Spider-Man films actually are already within the MCU. It's an interesting thought, but the merit for it isn't exactly all of there due to two Harry Osborns and such things like that. But if this were somehow true, that would mean that Tom Holland's Peter Parker wasn't the first Spider-Man in our universe. That would mean that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man wasn't the first Spider-Man, but in fact, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was the first one. And if they did decide to go down this route and kind of retcon the MCU in a way, that could mean that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man might not even be the first one as well. I don't think they could pull this off without changing some things that have happened in the past, which you can't really do. That would mean that our MCU at some point in time, probably in Avengers Endgame, was altered in some different way, and that would mean that we're not the main timeline anymore. So that's very unlikely, but still, given the fact of what Scott Derrickson said, is definitely an option that's on the table if Marvel decided to retcon a few things that were a part of the MCU. But let me know what you think Scott Derrickson means when he said that all Spider-Mans are in fact a part of the MCU. Do you think it's because of Doctor Strange's ability to travel between universes, or do you think it's due to the fact that we might be seeing these other Spider-Man appear in Spider-Man 3? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and for live updates, you can always follow me on Instagram and Twitter. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.